Hello everyone! After watching my previous two videos about how much you would expect to spend on buying a house in Ukrainian village and the second video on how to choose correctly the right village for you, today I want to talk about how to choose the right house in the right village with good land. But before we move on, please check that you liked this video and subscribe to my channel, because as you can see, only less than 1/3 of people who watch my videos are subscribed to my channel. Please subscribe and motivate me to make more videos for you in the future. So let's suppose you found several villages and you found several houses. So what do you check now? The first and the most important thing is to check set of documents for the house and the land. And I should say that about only 20% of houses with land in villages have a so-called good documents for the house and for the land. Perfect documents would have about less than 10% of houses. I am talking about villages in central part of Ukraine, where houses with land can be bought for about $4,000 to $8,000 or euros. Houses and land in progressive villages next to cities, where houses start with around $100,000 usually all have good sets of documents because of liquidity of such properties. Villages far away from cities where old people live and want to sell their houses and move to small cities in Ukraine never cared about making documents and will be telling you that everything is all right with all documents for the land, for the house, but in many cases it will not be true. Two main documents that you should look at is right of ownership for the land and the right of ownership for the house. Also, there should be a registered detailed plan of the house. It would be great, of course, if there would be documents for standalone garage or a barn that will be on your land. But most probably such documents will not be available for these buildings. But the main document, the right of ownership for the land and right of ownership for the house, even though the plan of the house may not be correct, because there may be some changes in the house, but that's not so important. The right of ownership for the land is the most important. And a right of ownership that there is a house on that land. You should also look for that. I should say here that in many cases house may cost like maybe $3,000 or $4,000 and owner would tell you that everything is okay with the documents. In fact, documents will be crap, or maybe there will not be any documents at all. In such case, you have two choices. Either you buy a house and after that with lawyers through the court you make the documents, but you may be risking here, because if there will be some children of that old people from whom you bought that house, if those children appear after, let's say, 2 or 3 years, or after 5 years, you may have problems because they may say that old people did not understand what they were doing. And actually, if you make a lot of renovations to the house, they can go to a court, and after that, either you will pay to them like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, so they do not claim anything from you, or they may be claiming all the rights for the land and for the house. So better that all documents are okay when you buy a house. And I cannot tell you how to exactly check those documents. You would have to hire a lawyer or a notary public. You would have to hire somebody who will check the documents and tell you that everything is okay with the documents. So documents is the most important thing when you buy a house in Ukraine. When you buy actually an apartment in Ukraine, it doesn't matter. When you buy any real estate in Ukraine, set of documents is the most important. Second thing what you should check is the agreement, agreements for connecting of power, for connecting of centralized water, if there is centralized water in that village, and centralized gas connection. So there should be an agreement for providing services of supply of these power, water, gas supply, sewers. There will not be sewers in maybe 90% of villages, but if there is, there also should be an agreement for sewers. And most importantly, when you buy that house, the owner of the house should collect certificates from those companies that there is no debt for those services. So you should buy a house without any debts. Sometimes there may be debts for power for about maybe 5,000, 10,000 hryvnias, which is about 250 to 300 US dollars. And gas is very expensive. So somebody might be living there, and for the last 3 years he didn't pay anything for the gas. And the gas bill may be more than 1,000 US dollars. And when you buy a house, of course, all those debts would be have to paid by you. So better to check all, not better to check, you have to ask the owner to collect those certificates that there is no debt or there is very, very little debt. And then you just subtract that debt from the amount that you pay to that person for the house and for the land. Then if we are talking about a house in a village, you should check the soil, because it is very, very important thing. And if you plan to grow maybe some vegetables, fruits, if there are trees on that land plot that comes along with the house, soil must be good. If it is black soil, it is the best choice. If there is too much clay soil, well, maybe it would be worth looking for some other house, because if there is too much clay soil, then you would probably need too much fertilizers, and probably they would not help if there is too much clay soil there. So check that there is as much black soil as possible. Fourth part is to check the foundation, the walls and the roof of the house. And it would be better if you hire a builder for maybe like $100, and that he checks everything when you know that everything is okay with the documents and this house is the one that you want. Then you just hire a builder and he checks for everything, because building something at this moment is very, very expensive, especially building in the village. So it is much better that walls and foundation and roof are of good quality, and you will not have to fix it in the next, let's say, 5, 6 or 7 years. Fifth, you have to check for the water. There may be centralized water supply in that village, or there may be a well. And better that you have both a centralized water supply in the village and your own well, because water is very, very important. If there is no centralized water in that village, you should check the level of water in the well, and the level should be high enough, because sometimes water levels just drop, and if water level is not high, then you will have very, very big problems with the water. So much better to check that the level in that well is high enough. And if there is a river next to your house, next to that land plot with your house, it is very, very good. And the closer it is, the better, because you may install a small pump and you can pump up water from the river for watering your trees, your vegetables that you may grow. And sometimes if it is hot, you can even water your roof, so it is much cooler in the house and you will not need any air conditioner in such case. Finally, and it is very, very important, you have to check which kind of toilet and shower or bathroom there is in that house, and what kind of kitchen. You have an inside kitchen, or you have a kitchen that is built in a standalone building. That's also very important, because in 95% of village houses and in 95% of villages, especially if we're talking villages that are located in 30-kilometer or more radius from big cities, they have an outdoor toilet and a shower. You may say it is not a big deal to go out to the toilet, but it is a toilet where usually owner digs a hole in the ground, then he installs old tires in that hole, then they put some clay soil, some stones in the bottom of that hole just to filter water that goes into soil, and such toilet may stay there for years. Nothing is cleaned from that hole, and smell will be terrible no matter how many chemicals you put inside. So when you come inside such toilet, smell will be just terrible. After the hole fills up in like 5, 6, 7, 10 years, usually toilet is moved like 10 meters away, new hole is dug, and old hole is just buried. It is a very cheap way to install and to build a toilet. And many people who live in villages are used to it from their childhood. But I don't think you'll be comfortable with such solution. In winter, it may be minus 25 degrees Celsius, and to get out of house and run to the toilet that may be like 50 or 70 meters away from the house, well, I wouldn't want such challenge every day. And same with shower. Almost all showers are outside and will be in very bad condition. If there is no indoor shower nor toilet, you'll have to either make one from the scratch, and it will be something like an extension to the building with a septic somewhere next to it. And building a toilet with shower as an extension to the building with septic and with connecting your kitchen to that septic will cost you additional maybe 5, 6, 7 or even $8,000. So you can buy a house with land for $5,000 or like $8,000 and spend the same amount of money for building a toilet, shower and a septic. Yes, you can save and just rebuild toilet, shower with a new hole. You can make a toilet with some podium. Shower will be without septic, all water will be flowing just outside. Yes, it will save you maybe $3,000 or $4,000. But running to toilet in the winter and have limited access to shower in the winter, well, I don't think it is such a nice idea. If you decide to build a toilet and a shower or a bathroom as an extension to your building, as I said, it will be minimum $5,000, and the price of such building will be right now. So if you plan to buy a house like in 1 year, in 2 years, this price may be $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, maybe even more $1,000. If you have watched my previous 2 videos, and links to those videos will be in the description to this video, you would calculate that coming to Ukraine, finding a house, choosing a house, buying a house, making sure that all documents are okay, and building a new toilet with shower would already account to minimum $20,000. In my next video, I will show you a house in a village called Chagov. It's in Vinnytsia region, about 60 kilometers away from Vinnytsia. And it is like a perfect house, which I would buy if I would want to live in a village. The house was sold for $4,500. If you need my personal assistance, help or advice in finding any real estate in Ukraine or in any other field that you think I may be helpful to you, please feel free to email me anytime at my email address, and I'm always glad to help those people who really need help. If you are still interested to buy a house in Ukrainian village, I must say right now that there will be about $5,000 to $10,000 more expenses after you spend these $20,000 on buying a house. Because you will need some maintenance for sure, and I will talk about it in my next videos. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask in comments to this video. In the meantime, I wish you all good luck, success, happiness, joy, tranquility, and of course, stay healthy and wealthy.